January 1942. You are 19 years old. The whistle starts high, then drops. You know that sound now. Everyone in Leningrad knows that sound. You are 3 streets from your post, a loaf of bread pressed against your chest under your coat, and your legs will not move fast enough. Your body used to run. Now it barely walks. The whistle drops lower. You have maybe 4 seconds to find a wall. You don't know yet if you'll make it. 6 hours earlier, it is still dark, and you are just a soldier trying to stay warm. Your name is Dmitri. You're a rifleman, dug into the line at Pulkovo Heights, south of the city, where the German guns sit close enough that on still nights you can hear men on the other side cough, or argue, or laugh at something you'll never understand. Before the war, you were going to be an engineer. You had drawings rolled up in a tube under your bed, bridges mostly. Now you hold a rifle you can barely lift some mornings, not from fear, from hunger. In your coat pocket is a letter, half written, to your sister Anya. She was evacuated across the ice road on Lake Ladoga 2 months ago, packed onto a truck with 100 other children and old women, the convoy told to space out in case the ice gave way beneath them. You don't know if she made it across. You don't know if she's alive. You write to her anyway, a few lines a day, because writing feels like doing something in a place where doing something has become nearly impossible. Beside you in the dugout is Pavel, your oldest friend in the unit. You grew up 2 streets apart. He hasn't finished a full sentence in 2 days. He says he's fine. His hands shake when he thinks no one is looking, and he started dropping things. Small things, a spoon, a cartridge, like his fingers have quietly stopped listening to him. You tell yourself you're not like him yet. You tell yourself that a lot lately. Somewhere behind the lines, someone is baking today's bread. You will not eat until it reaches you. If it reaches you, you wake because the cold wakes you. It always does. Sleep in Leningrad in January isn't rest. It's just your body giving up for a few hours before the cold argues you back into consciousness. Frost has grown on the inside of the dugout wall overnight, in the exact shape of your own breath from hours before. You watch it for a moment before you move, because moving means the cold under your blanket meets the cold in the air, and that first shift is its own small battle. Pavel is already awake, sitting up, staring at nothing in particular. You nudge him with your boot. He blinks like it takes real effort, like his eyelids have weight now. "Still here," he says. It's what he says every morning instead of good morning. You've stopped correcting him. The ration today is 125 grams of bread for civilians in the city. You've heard men describe it in detail, the way starving men describe food, endlessly. Dense, gray, cut with sawdust and cellulose to stretch the flour further, because there isn't enough flour left to stretch on its own. Soldiers get more, not much more, enough to keep a rifle raised, not enough to keep a man warm through a night like the last one. You chew slowly. Slow chewing tricks the stomach, someone told you once, back in November when men still had breath to spare for advice. You don't know if it's true. You do it anyway. You do a lot of things now simply because someone once said they help. By mid-morning, the shelling starts, the way it starts most days, almost on schedule, like the city itself has learned to expect it. You've learned to read it by ear, the flat crack of a smaller gun somewhere close, the long tearing whistle of the big ones fired from farther off. There's a rhythm to the city's fear now. A metronome plays over the loudspeakers when it's safe to walk the streets, ticking fast when danger is near, slow and steady when it isn't. You've come to trust that sound more than you trust most people you've met since the siege began. Pavel drops his mess tin. His hand just opens, fingers loosening on their own, and the tin clatters into the frozen mud. He stares at it on the ground like it belongs to someone else, someone who used to be him. "Cold," he mutters, but you both know it isn't the cold. Doctors here have a name for it now. Alimentary dystrophy, starvation, dressed up in Latin so it sounds like a disease and not simply what it is. A city being slowly emptied of itself, one man at a time. Men have died standing at their posts, upright, rifle still gripped in frozen hands, and no one noticed for an hour that they'd stopped breathing. You pick up Pavel's tin for him. Neither of you says anything about it. There's nothing left to say that hasn't already been said. At noon, your name is called. Bread has arrived at the rear depot. Someone has to carry the unit's ration forward. Along open ground, the Germans can see if they're watching, and today, they are almost always watching. You volunteer before you can think better of it. The sergeant looks at you a second too long. You're thin, everyone's thin, but he nods because someone has to go, and you're standing there, and that's simply how it works now. You sling your rifle, take the sack, and start walking. The streets are quiet. Too quiet, no metronome warning yet, just wind, drifting snow, the low groan of a frozen city holding its breath between one shell and the next. You pass a woman pulling a sled with something wrapped in a gray sheet. You don't look too closely. No one does anymore. It isn't cruelty. It's survival. You learn to see only what you can carry, and some things you cannot afford to carry with you. Your legs feel far away from you now, like they belong to someone slower, someone borrowed. Halfway back, the wind shifts, and you hear it. Not the wind, the whistle. High, then dropping. You know that sound. Your body remembers faster than your mind does. You're already moving before you've decided to move. 3 streets from your post. Bread against your chest. Your legs betray you. One step, a stumble, a hand catching a frozen wall to keep you upright. The whistle drops lower. There's a doorway ahead, 10 meters. It feels like 100, like the street has stretched itself out just to spite you. Your legs won't answer properly. Hunger has been quietly stealing strength from you for weeks, a little each day, so slowly you barely notice the theft, and it chooses this exact second, this narrow window between the whistle and the impact, to send the bill in full. You fall to your knees in the snow. The explosion comes half a block away. Not you, not this time, but the shock wave slaps the air out of your lungs and throws grit and shattered ice across your back. Windows somewhere behind you burst and rain down in glittering, useless pieces onto the street. Silence after. The specific ringing silence that follows a blast, where the whole world sounds underwater, muffled, far away. You're on the ground, face against the snow. The bread is still in your arms. Some part of you checked that before it checked yourself. A hand grabs your collar, pulls. It's an old man, a civilian, thin as a wire, hauling you toward the doorway with a strength you didn't think anyone left in this city still had. "Up," he says, voice cracked and dry. "Up, soldier, not here." You get up. You don't remember deciding to. You make it back to the line an hour later than expected, snow still crusted in your collar. The sergeant doesn't ask questions. He just takes the bread, weighs it in his hands like something precious, because it is, and for the first time all week, you see something like relief cross Pavel's face when he receives his share. That night, by a stub of candle, you finish the letter to Anya. You write about the cold, but not the shelling. You write that you're well, because that's the kind of lie a brother is allowed to tell, the kind that costs nothing and might mean everything to the person reading it. 3 weeks later, word comes back through the evacuation office, passed hand to hand until it reaches your unit. Anya crossed Ladoga safely back in November. She's alive, in a village east of the lake, waiting out the war like everyone else, wondering the same things about you that you wondered about her. Pavel doesn't make it through February. It isn't a shell that takes him. It's the thing with the Latin name, the one with no explosion, no warning whistle, no metronome to mark its coming. Just a quiet stopping, somewhere in the deep of a night no different from any other. You keep his mess tin. You don't know why. You just do. You keep writing letters, some to Anya, some to no one at all, because writing still feels like doing something, in a war where so much is simply endured. Nearly 1 million people died in Leningrad during the siege, most not from bullets, but from cold and hunger, in a city that refused to surrender anyway, day after unbearable day. Dmitri's letter was one of thousands that made it across the ice that winter. Tomorrow, you'll cross to the other side of this war, into the boots of a German soldier staring at that same frozen lake, wondering why a starving city still won't fall.